the prince consort's carriage plummeted off the cliff. Even unconscious, he clung tight to his childhood sweetheart's hand, refusing to let go. I swapped the doctor who'd save him for a soul-sealing Taoist priest, trapping his spirit in a jade pendant. I wanted him to watch it all. His beloved sweetheart was a flighty, faithless thing. The sister he doted on to protect was cold and ungrateful. The mother he revered as precious was a scheming opportunist. Only then would he get the punishment he truly deserved. Welcome to my channel. If you like this story, please click to subscribe. There are more wonderful stories waiting for you to listen to. Chapter 1. News of the prince consort's fall reached me. I ordered men to rush to the Imperial Medical Institute, summoning every physician on duty. Yet when the guard reported that the prince consort clutched Lu Qingshuang in his arms even as he lay unconscious, my anxious heart instantly grew cold. After a moment's thought, I dispatched men to fetch the Taoist priest from Changfeng Temple. By the time the prince consort was carried back, both the physician and the Taoist waited in the corridor, awaiting orders. Though the prince had fallen from the cliff, his appearance remained unchanged, even the blood at the corner of his lips retaining a vivid hue. He had always been a man of jade-like beauty. Once, when he drove his carriage down the main street, countless young women vied to throw flowers and fruits at him. He returned laden with gifts, and the tale became a celebrated legend. Father Emperor once asked me, "Of all the young men in the capital, which one do you favor?" I softly whispered his name. Father declared he possessed only looks, a wild nature, and was no suitable match. I nodded. His looks were precisely what I desired. His striking beauty was the very reason he became my consort. As for his temperament, however fiery his temper, it could never surpass a princess's. I am the princess of Great Qin. Father's harem bore 13 princesses. Yet only I survived to adulthood. When my sister, who had lived to 13, passed away, father closed court for 3 days, weeping in sorrow. That I lived to adulthood and marriage brought father such joy he scarcely had time to express it. Thus, even when I protested, he still issued the imperial decree of betrothal. Not long after the betrothal, Wei Ju found an excuse to see me once. Tall and graceful, he stood like a distant mountain peak. Though physically before me, he seemed as far away as the Milky Way. Kneeling before me, he declared, "My childhood sweetheart awaits. We pledged 3 lifetimes together. I cannot betray her. I beg you to revoke this decree." Though I felt regret, a noble heart does not seize another's affection. Thus, I relented. Yet, being dismissed so easily left me with lingering resentment. I set a condition. The annulment may stand, but bring your childhood sweetheart before this palace. I wish to see the peerless beauty who holds Lord Wei in such steadfast devotion. Thus, I met Lu Qingshuang. She was beautiful, but not beyond compare. Wei Ju's affection for her seemed genuine. I petitioned my father, the emperor, to revoke the imperial decree of marriage. The emperor, though reluctant, could do but acquiesce. After all, I was his only daughter. I asked Ningxing, "Who is more beautiful, Lu Qingshuang or I?" He pondered, puzzled. "Who is Lu Qingshuang?" I froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. Wei Ju had a childhood sweetheart. But who doesn't have one? I, Ying Ling Yue, also had a childhood sweetheart whose heart and eyes were filled only with me. Ningxing is the son of my wet nurse. He grew up alongside me from childhood. When my wet nurse passed away, I asked her if she had any unfulfilled wishes. She said, "First, may the princess enjoy health and longevity, blessed with unparalleled fortune and prosperity. Second, may the princess find a worthy partner, living a life of joy and freedom from sorrow." She never mentioned Ningxing, but I knew she must have cherished him deeply. Because when I am well, Ningxing is well. Ningxing is my personal guard. He has served me faithfully, never leaving my side. I once asked him if there was a woman he admired. He replied, "This servant has only the sword in his heart." Very well. It seemed he was destined to remain unmarried for life. Yet, in the end, I married Wei Ju. Prince Xian was accused of plotting rebellion, and the Wei family was implicated. By law, they should have been exiled and their estate confiscated. Wei Ju found a way to reach the princess's household. When I visited the princess's residence, he suddenly appeared and performed a sword dance. His sword dance was powerful and rhythmic, as agile as a dragon, as graceful as a swan. With sweeping, expansive movements, it radiated a commanding presence. In the past, Wei Ju had been merely a beautiful painting in my heart. Now, that painting had come to life. He ended his dance abruptly, kneeling silently on the ground. He was clever. Had he spoken then, he would have lost his advantage. He waited for my decision, waited for me to wrestle with my own desires. The princess laughed softly in my ear. Such a rare treasure is hard to find in this world. Had you not betrothed him to another, he would already be mine. Do you want him or not? I asked him. What of your childhood sweetheart? He shifted slightly. She has no connection to this servant anymore. I heard that the Liu family severed ties with the Wei family and relocated their entire household when the Wei family's scandal erupted. Now Lord Liu is actively seeking a posting outside the capital, hoping to lie low away from the storm. His childhood sweetheart, Liu Qingshuang, has already broken off their engagement. He has been rejected twice. Even as a man, his reputation would suffer irreparably. And what reputation does the Wei family have left now? I stepped before him and spoke slowly, though I have always been willful and reckless. It has only ever been in matters concerning myself. Rebellion and corruption are matters of state. I would never exploit them for personal gain. If the Wei family is innocent, the emperor will surely clear your name. If the Wei family is not innocent, then you should accept your fate willingly. The wealth and honor you have enjoyed must be paid for with an equal price. Your beauty may be striking, but it should never be used as a bargaining chip. With that, I swept my sleeves and departed. Soon after, it was confirmed that the Wei family had merely presented gifts at Prince Xian's birthday banquet, with no deeper involvement. The Wei family thus regained its former standing, once again becoming close ministers to the Son of Heaven and prominent figures in the court. I only heard that relations between the Liu and Wei families never recovered. Later, I was attacked during a journey, and Wei Ju saved me. When the long sword pierced him, he collapsed into my arms. I asked why he saved me. He said it was to repay the debt of saving the Wei family. I fell silent. Did he truly distrust me? Or did he distrust his own father? But amidst the flashing blades and whistling swords, there was no time for explanations. He was taken away for treatment. As I undressed for a bath, the jade pendant that had fallen from my bosom bore Wei Ju's blood. The crimson was absorbed completely by the jade. I recalled the Taoist priest's words at Changfeng Temple, "Your Highness is destined to face a tribulation of love. After this ordeal, the sky will be boundless and the sea vast. You shall walk freely as your heart desires." It seemed Wei Ju was my tribulation. If so, I would carry him through it. When Wei Ju awoke, I asked him, to repay a life-saving debt with your body, or to repay it in the future, which do you choose? Your servant believes the title of imperial consort's attendant fits me perfectly. His smile was warm, stirring my heart. This trial didn't seem so hard to endure. But I was wrong. A trial remains a trial. Even a beautiful sugar coating cannot make one overlook its bitterness. 3 years have passed since our marriage. Conflicts between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, sisters-in-law, childhood sweethearts, and old friends consumed what little affection remained. Yesterday, He said he was leaving the city to clear his mind. I reminded him the roads were slippery in the rain and to be careful. He gave a brief reply, then hurried out of the princess's residence. Leaving the city to clear his mind was true, only he was accompanied by a beauty. Had heaven not opened its eyes, I would never have known I wore a green hat. Perhaps I pondered too long. Ningxing saw my gaze fixed on Wei Ju's hand clutching Lu Qingshuang's. He knelt resolutely and explained. The prince holds her too tightly. I cannot separate them. Perhaps the imperial physician has a way. The imperial physician moved to approach. I raised my hand. No need. This is perfect. I ordered the two carried inside, leaving only the supreme Taoist of Changfeng Monastery. Master. Begin. Extract his soul for this palace. I intend to make him witness with his own eyes what the true world looks like through his own eyes. A flash of spiritual light erupted from the jade pendant, trapping Wei Ju's soul within. His physical body instantly drained of vitality, becoming a living corpse. Supreme Taoist Wei stated that when all karmic ties were severed, Wei Ju would naturally emerge from the jade pendant. As for when that would be, it was solely up to heaven's will. Very well. If it was heaven's will, then it was perfectly fair. Within the jade pendant, Wei Ju's soul regained consciousness. Clearly still bewildered by his situation, he gazed around in confusion, desperately striving to return to his body. Alas! A barrier seemed to separate him from his flesh. No matter how he tried, he could not enter. I pretended not to notice, calmly directing the imperial physicians to treat the two. A palace maid brought tea and snacks. I sipped my tea leisurely, as if none of this concerned me. Wei Ju's spirit surged toward me. Ling Yue, do you have no heart? I'm dying. Doesn't this sadden you? His voice boomed, but I pretended not to hear. Watching him fume with frustration, powerless to reach me, brought me an inexplicable sense of satisfaction. After a moment of raging, he finally realized I couldn't hear him. He shot me a cold, icy glare before slumping dejectedly beside the physician, listening to the diagnosis. His gaze fixed on Lu Qingshuang, filled with urgency and pity. Soon, Lu Qingshuang regained consciousness. She looked around in confusion. Once she grasped the situation, a heart-wrenching cry escaped her. Your Highness, I beg you, save my husband. I implore you. She banged her head on the ground repeatedly, seemingly oblivious to the pain. I'd seen this kind of self-inflicted suffering ploy many times before, but Wei Ju clearly fell for it hook, line, and sinker. His eyes reddened, as if I were the one who had humiliated Lu Qingshuang. Ling Yue. This is precisely why I chose Qingshuang. She will always stand by me unconditionally, while you only know how to bestow your favors upon me from your lofty perch. So that was it. He desired a clinging bindweed, weak and helpless, needing to cling to survive. But the emperor's daughter was a proud, stubborn yew tree, unafraid of wind and cold, never bending to climb upon another. I said coldly, over a dozen imperial physicians are doing their utmost to save her. What more are you dissatisfied with? Lu Qingshuang faltered, her eyes reddening. This servant has no complaints. You merely wish to appear deeply devoted, making others believe this palace is insincere. Miss Lu, if this palace were truly insincere, would you have awakened? Your servant never intended such a thing. Then why are you crying? Why are you kneeling? Lu Qingshuang's cheeks flushed crimson. She lowered her head, unable to utter a word. Wei Ju could no longer contain himself. Ling Yue, why must you be so relentless? Qingshuang is clearly only worried about me. Me. Fine. 3 years of friendship down the drain. Just then, the imperial physician reported, Your Highness, I must separate Miss Lu and the prince consort. but His Highness is clutching her so tightly his fingers have gone stiff. I cannot pry them apart. This. Cut off his hand. What? The physician froze in shock. I looked at Lu Qingshuang. My voice calm. Miss Lu. Your arm or Wei Ju's arm, you choose. Lu Qingshuang's face drained of color. Your Highness. This is no joke. How can you casually order someone's arm to be cut off? Wei Ju's face turned ashen. How could you be so cruel? I must have been blind to have ever trusted you. I nodded and gave the order to the imperial physicians. Wei Ju is willing to sacrifice his life for Miss Lu. Yet she refuses to sacrifice an arm for him. Since that is the case, do your utmost. If he survives, it is his fate. If he does not, it is his time. Yes, Your Highness. We obey. Soon, the imperial physicians gathered to discuss treatment options. After staunching Wei Ju's bleeding and bandaging his wounds, administering medicinal decoctions, they could only wait for him to awaken naturally. As the physicians withdrew, Lu Qingshuang panicked. She raised her wrist, still tightly clutched by Wei Ju, and asked anxiously, "Then what about me?" A mocking curve touched my lips as I said indifferently, "Attendants, escort Miss Lu back. Since she distrusts the imperial physicians, she must find her own way to make Wei Ju release her." Guards surged in, immediately carrying Lu Qingshuang and Wei Ju away. Seated on the stretcher, Lu Qingshuang was utterly distraught. "Your Highness, I cannot return like this. How can I face the world? I beg your mercy." I smiled. This was precisely the outcome I desired. Having committed such an act, caressing the arm of a married man, don't blame me for making it known to all. Guards carried her back to the Lu residence with great fanfare. A palace maid reported that Lu Qingshuang had covered her face and wept all the way home. Onlookers gathered along the route, admiring this spectacle while inquiring about the incident. The senior palace maid declared, "This servant has spoken truthfully without concealment." I nodded, satisfied. So it should be. If you dare to do it, you must dare to own it. Just then, Wei Ju stormed in like a whirlwind. He glared at me with fury, his eyes seeming to devour me. "Ying Ling Yue, how dare you? Do you know this will ruin Qingshuang's reputation? How will she live her life now? How will she ever marry? I spoiled him rotten. He truly believes that because I cherish him, he can treat me however he pleases." Lu Qingshuang should have considered her reputation when she was flirting with him. If she herself didn't think about it, why should I? I didn't even glance at him. Instead, I ordered a palace maid. "Bring ink and paper. I intend to write a letter of divorce." The senior palace maid paused, then went to fetch the writing implements. Wei Ju froze. "You're divorcing me?" He couldn't believe it. After all, he thought he was a treasure in my eyes, that I'd disregard national laws and my own dignity for him. He was seriously overthinking it. As I lifted my brush, the senior maid still couldn't resist pleading, "Your Highness, marriage is no trivial matter. Please reconsider." I replied coolly, "He's merely a defiled man. Why bother?" I wrote the divorce decree swiftly in one fluid motion and ordered it sent to the Wei residence. "Excellent. Ying Ling Yue. From this day forth, we part ways. We are no longer bound." Wei Ju's face turned ashen. He flung his sleeves and swiftly vanished. Watching his retreating figure, I pondered silently. Even as a ghost, he still looked rather ethereal as he drifted away. I returned to the palace and stayed for 7 days. During those 7 days, the outside world had been turned upside down. After Lu Qingshuang returned, Lord Lu refused her entry, declaring he had no such shameless daughter. Upon learning of this, the Wei household immediately came to retrieve Wei Ju. Unable to separate the two, they brought Lu Qingshuang back as well. Before the doors were even closed upon their return, Wei's mother could no longer contain herself and delivered a resounding slap to Lu Qingshuang. You vile wench! When the Wei family faced calamity, you fled as swiftly as a hare. Now that my son has finally wed the princess, you dare stand in our way. Do you know that because of your shamelessness, the princess has repudiated my son? What wrong has the Wei family ever done to you that you repeatedly harm my son? The blow struck. Lu Qingshuang froze. Wei Ju's soul froze in shock. After delivering the blow, Wei's mother vented her fury and coldly ordered, "Go fetch a doctor to separate them." Doctors came in wave after wave. Alas! Wei Ju's hand was rigid. Unless it was sawed off, there was no way to pry them apart. Both Wei's mother and Lu Qingshuang were overcome with despair. Wei's mother despaired because Lu Qingshuang was irrefutable proof of Wei Ju's unfaithfulness. Even if she tried to twist the truth, she had no grounds to do so. She could only bring Wei Ju's younger sister, Wei Yuan, to the princess's residence daily to beg for forgiveness. Lu Qingshuang's despair stemmed from her life being utterly restricted. Eating, dressing, washing, sleeping, even using the lavatory, required 4 maids to carry Wei Ju behind her. She had no privacy, no dignity. The entire Wei household looked down on her with contempt. Even the lowest maids regarded her as a laughingstock. Wei Ju comforted her ceaselessly, insisting they would find a skilled physician to separate them. Alas! Not a single word of his consolation reached Lu Qingshuang's ears. By the 7th day, Lu Qingshuang had descended into utter madness. She dismissed her maidservants under some pretext, then fixed a fierce, ruthless gaze upon Wei Ju's hand. With every ounce of strength, she seized his thumb. Snap! Wei Ju's thumb fractured. Wei Ju stared at Lu Qingshuang's face in shock. The once gentle and virtuous beauty had vanished from her delicate features, replaced only by the savage determination to fulfill her desire and the triumphant joy of its accomplishment. She continued, snapping the 2nd finger, then the 3rd. After snapping 3 of Wei Ju's fingers in succession, she beamed with delight, held up her own arm to admire it for a moment, then glanced at Wei Ju and murmured softly, "Wei Lang, don't blame me. You've always been good to me. If you were awake, you'd surely want me to break your fingers too, wouldn't you?" She bent down and kissed Wei Ju's cheek lightly. Then, swiftly, she walked toward the inner chamber and climbed out the window. Wei Ju's soul stared blankly at her retreating figure, speechless for a long time, witnessing this scene through the jade pendant. I too fell silent. Lu Qingshuang was far more ruthless than I had imagined. That very night, Wei Ju arrived in the palace. He sat silently beside me. I snorted derisively, too indolent to let him know I could see him. I ordered a senior palace maid to summon performers from the imperial music troupe to sing and dance. Birdsong and dancing filled the air, strings and flutes playing without cease. The male performers' vigorous dance moves and the female dancers' supple waists deeply pleased me. Humming a tune and tapping my fingers to the beat, I reveled in fine wine and delicacies, indulging in unrestrained revelry all night long. At dawn, Wei Ju spoke coldly, "Yingling Yue, you truly have no heart. Do you feel no sorrow for me at all? You used every means to win me, yet now cast me aside like a worn-out rag. Were it not for you, Qing Shuang and I would have long been husband and wife. You wronged me first, what harm is it if I wrong you once in return?" I gave a cold laugh. Life is worth living, it's just that he ultimately isn't worth it. Just then, a report arrived. Lady Wei had collapsed from kneeling at the princess's residence, and Wei Huan was weeping. Upon hearing this, Wei Ju immediately floated away. He drifted a short distance before pausing. "Yingling Yue, my mother has always treated you with kindness. She's been kneeling at the princess's residence for 7 days straight. Won't you go see her?" The senior palace maid also asked if I intended to visit. I yawned lazily. "I am weary. Besides, have the Wei family all perished? If they cannot even care for their own matriarch, what use are they? Understood. The senior palace maid grasped the meaning and promptly announced that no further reports concerning the Wei family were needed. Wei Ju shot me an angry glare before sweeping his sleeves and departing. I slept soundly and deeply, waking only slowly as the afternoon turned to dusk. Ningxing asked me, "Are you truly not going to see Lady Wei?" I yawned. "Is she beautiful?" No. Ningxing was quite certain. I couldn't help but laugh. In her youth, Lady Wei was hailed as the first beauty of Great Qin, while Lord Wei was its first handsome man. They were a match made in heaven, destined to produce someone like Wei Ju, a figure of unparalleled wolfish beauty, truly one of a kind. But beauty, when devoid of humility, loses its luster. Wei Ju claimed his mother had always treated me with kindness. In his eyes, she was naturally flawless. But to me, she was merely a beautiful shell wrapped in desire. Sure enough, it took no more than 3 days. Rumors spread throughout the capital that the Wei family had sincerely repented. Lady Wei had fallen ill, and Wei Huan tended to her bedside daily, growing thinner than chrysanthemums. A pitiful sight. The implication was clear: if I persisted in pursuing this matter, it would be unbecoming. Ningxing's eyes flashed with murderous intent at these words. After some thought, I requested the emperor issue an edict stripping Lady Wei of her first-rank noble consort title. Wei Ju's father held a 4th-rank official position. Logically, given his father's merits, Lady Wei should have received a 4th-rank noble consort title. But His Majesty, wishing to make Wei Ju worthy of me, elevated the Wei family's status. He promoted Wei's father to a 3rd-rank official and, as an exception, granted Wei's mother the title of 1st-rank noble consort. The status of a 1st-rank noble consort is highly prestigious. She may freely enter and exit the palace, is not required to pay respects to officials, cannot be investigated or punished by lower-ranking officials, may wear the phoenix robe in life, and is entitled to be enshrined in the imperial ancestral temple after death, with substantial salaries and estates. If Lady Wei thinks she can use public opinion to pressure me, she's miscalculated. Even if the whole world condemns me, as long as justice is on my side, I won't back down an inch. Not long after the emperor's edict reached the Wei household, Wei Ju appeared at my bedchamber. Furious, he demanded, "My mother lies bedridden, still unconscious. Even if you hate me, couldn't you wait to revoke my title?" Before he could approach me, a burst of talismanic light repelled him. This talisman, drawn by a Taoist priest at my request, ensures Wei Ju cannot come near me. Even ghosts must abide by this palace's rules: no trespassing in the princess's chambers. Ignoring Wei Ju's stunned expression, I calmly ordered, "Affix talismans throughout the entire chamber. Ensure not a single wandering spirit can enter." "Yes, Your Highness." The palace maids departed to carry out the command. Wei Ju murmured in confusion from a distance, "You can see me, feel me, can't you?" I closed my eyes and made a gesture. Ningxing drifted down from the shadows, kneeling to await my command. "Tell me a story, Ningxing." I opened my eyes and glanced at him. Reluctantly, Ningxing began, "Once upon a time, there was a mountain. In the mountain, there was a temple. In the temple, there was a monk." I glared at him. He cleared his throat softly. "Once upon a time, there was a princess. She was free-spirited and unparalleled in beauty, the most stunning princess in the world. One day, her heart stirred with love, and she decided to find the most handsome man in the land to be her prince consort." I slowly closed my eyes, listening to him weave his tale. The tale was lovely. Of course, the princess and prince overcame countless trials to live happily ever after. But in reality, our lives were nothing but a mess. At Lady Wei's birthday celebration. He wanted me to pay respects as his wife. I knew that if I bowed, my princess's dignity would be lost forever, leaving me at the mercy of the Wei family. So after sending my gift, I remained seated in my high position. That day, Wei Ju and I had a fierce argument. He stormed off, leaving me heartbroken. His sister, Wei Huan, relying on her beauty, publicly mocked someone for their appearance. Little did she know that person was the chancellor, whom the emperor had invited from afar, currently conducting an incognito investigation among the common folk. Once the chancellor's identity was revealed, Wei Huan left in shame. He accused me of never treating Wei Huan as family. For how else would the chancellor have dared to humiliate her in public? Such incidents were too numerous to recount. Our affection eroded away like this. After that, our paths diverged like roads leading to the heavens. We, husband and wife, truly became strangers who merely acknowledged each other's presence. In my heart, he was a calamity, an inevitable ordeal. In his heart, I must have been the trial he came to endure in this world. A marriage like ours was destined to end long ago. His infidelity became the very opportunity for mutual liberation. I found this deeply liberating. By the time Ningxing finished speaking, the palace maids had finished affixing the talismans, and Wei Ju had already been flung away by their force. The surroundings instantly fell silent. Out of sheer boredom, I took out the jade pendant to see where Wei Ju had been transported. He fled the palace in panic, drifting back home to serve his mother in a dazed state. Suddenly, Lady Wei, lying on her sickbed, opened her eyes. She turned to Wei Huan, who was weeping nearby, and coldly demanded, "Why are you crying? Your mother isn't dead yet." "Mother, are you better?" Wei Huan exclaimed joyfully. Wei Mu slowly sat up, her voice icy. "I merely wished to see the princess's reaction. I never imagined her to be so ruthless. Alas, it is ultimately your brother who has wronged her." Wei Yuan retorted angrily. "What did brother do wrong? It was clearly that vile woman who deliberately framed our family to get her way with him. She forced brother to bow his head and submit to her. If not for that, how could sister Qingxuang and brother have been torn apart like parting swallows?" A sharp smack echoed. Wei's mother struck Wei Huan across the face. "Did I teach you to speak like this? As a young lady of noble birth, you spew filth from your mouth. I've spoiled you rotten. And never mention Lu Qingxuang again. She would break your brother's fingers for her own sake. She is unworthy of being a member of the Wei family." Wei Qian's eyes reddened. Wei's mother sighed softly, gently stroking her hair. "Foolish child. I never explained it fully before. Today, I'll tell you everything. Your father did indeed have dealings with the Prince of Xian. The princess never interfered. Your marriage to her was something I actively pursued. The Lu family, seeking favor with the powerful, and they kicked him when he was down. They were unworthy of forming a bond between our families. It was I who persuaded your brother to approach the princess through the Long Princess's connections, winning her affection. The matter with Prince Xian made me realize that only by aligning with the most powerful figure in the realm could we ensure our family's lasting peace. The princess was the best path. Alas, your brother proved unworthy, destroying our fortunes for Lu Qingxuang." Her voice turned bitter here, her expression twisted with fury. Wei Xian was shaken. She whispered, "Brother and I always thought the princess was acting recklessly. But mother, why didn't you explain things clearly to brother? If you had, perhaps none of this would have happened. A true man should prioritize achieving great deeds and establishing his legacy. How could he be so consumed by love and passion? I never imagined he'd be so worthless. Had I known he was so consumed by love, I might as well have let him marry the princess and live in harmony. Alas, it's all Lu Qingxuang's fault. And you, Stirring things up from the sidelines, do you think I'm unaware? If you hadn't been passing messages between your brother and Lu Qingxuang, how could they have kept their connection alive? Now, go to your room and reflect on your actions. You are not to come out. Wei Huan fell silent, wiped away her tears, and turned to leave. Wei's mother lay down with bitter resentment, sighing deeply, her heart heavy with worry. Wei Ju was utterly devastated. He stared at his own mother in disbelief, his soul feeling unsteady. He gazed blankly toward the direction of the imperial palace. Later, he left the Wei residence and went to the princess's mansion, sitting quietly in a daze. Ling Yue, have I been utterly mistaken? I always thought you resorted to underhanded tactics to force our marriage. I lowered my gaze slightly. So what if I was utterly mistaken? Too late. His retribution was yet to come. Not many days passed. Just as the turmoil in the Wei household began to subside, another piece of bad news arrived. The third son of the Zhou family, who had been betrothed to Wei Xian, came to annul the engagement. That day, Wei Xian had just been released from house arrest, and the Wei household was preparing to receive guests. Unexpectedly, what they received was the Zhou third son's letter of annulment. The Zhou family was a lineage of nobility, boasting 2 dukes within their ranks, a family of unparalleled prestige. By all accounts, Wei Xian, the daughter of a mere third-rank official, was far beneath their station. It was only after a flower-viewing banquet, when third young Master Zhou and Wei Xian both fell into the water and became intimate before the eyes of all present, that this match was hastily arranged. Once the engagement was sealed, the Wei family rose like oil poured onto a raging fire, ascending to new heights. Everyone envied the Wei family, the elder brother married to a princess, the younger sister destined to be the future duchess. Their glory and wealth seemed assured forever. At the time, something felt off to me. I specifically ordered an investigation, and what I discovered was too unspeakable to bear. I intended to inform Wei Ju, but the moment I opened my mouth, he shut me down. So you can't bear to see my sister happy? Does this world belong only to the imperial family? I let out a cold laugh, my enthusiasm gone. From that day onward, I confined Wei Huan to her quarters for half a year under various pretexts. It was likely this that made Wei Huan hate me completely. But when one does wrong, retribution will inevitably come. And now, that retribution has arrived. Did she truly believe the Zhou family could be manipulated by a mere woman like Wei Xian? Upon hearing the news, Wei Xian, disregarding all maidenly decorum, rushed to the front hall. She confronted the Zhou family's third son, demanding to know why he had broken off the engagement. Zhou Sanling gave her a piercing look but did not answer her question. Instead, he bowed to Wei Xian's father and then turned, striding away. Wei Xian, enraged, yanked the hairpin from her hair and pointed it at her own throat. Third young master, if you don't explain yourself clearly today, I'll stab myself to death right here. Wei's father bellowed in anger. Wei's mother turned pale. Wei Ju, though his face was ashen, opened his mouth, rarely siding with Wei Xian to demand answers. A flash of shame and anger crossed Zhou Sanling's face before he regained his composure and declared with righteous indignation. Since you insist on clarity, let us speak privately. Wei's parents dismissed the attendants, leaving only Zhou Sanling and Wei Xian in the hall. Wei Xian's face was streaked with tears, her beauty like a pear blossom drenched in rain. Sanling, since our betrothal, how have I treated you? Do you truly not know? Have you no feelings for me at all? She was a beauty, and her sudden tears, like dew on lotus blossoms, were breathtaking. Zhou Sanling paused, then took a deep breath. You have a reputation for beauty, but I am not one to covet mere looks. What happened at the flower viewing banquet can be easily verified by anyone with intent. You ambushed me, causing us both to fall into the water. Do you admit to this? No. I never did such a thing. Wei Xian denied it immediately. But Zhou Sanling produced a sachet and said coldly, "This sachet was dropped by you. I approached to return it to you. The floral scent on your body made me dizzy and disoriented, causing us both to fall into the pond. Afterward, I had it investigated. The herbs inside mixed with lily fragrance create a potent sedative. How can you claim you didn't deliberately drop this pouch for me to find? Shall I summon the herbalist who sold it to confront you?" Wei Xian panicked, tears streaming down her face. No. No. Third brother. Even if I erred, my affection for you was genuine. You once consented to this match, proof of your feelings for me. Why now renounce it? Must you kick me while I'm down, seeing my family's ruin? You're not this kind of person. Zhou Sanling drew a deep breath. Wei Xian, you're mistaken. I never truly consented to this match. Since learning of your betrayal, I've grown to despise you. I only maintained the engagement to spare the princess's dignity. But the thought of sharing a bed with you, of holding hands for a lifetime, I curse my very existence. You and your brother are both greedy, like snakes swallowing elephants. Your brother has the princess, yet remains unfaithful and impure. Your Wei family is already a prominent clan, yet you still crave more. If you pursued it openly, that might be one thing. But resorting to such despicable tactics, truth be told, with your looks, why stoop so low? It boils down to a rotten heart. Moreover, I must tell you, the princess knew of your deeds long before I did. That's why she punished you with 6 months confinement and personally sent gifts to my father to apologize. Otherwise, given your family's standing, I'd rather go down in flames than marry into the Wei clan. With that, he strode away. Wei Xian stared blankly at his retreating figure. A hairpin slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor. She covered her face and wept, sobbing loudly. Wei Ju stared at Wei Xian in disbelief, as if seeing his sister for the first time. He backed away step by step, eventually leaving the Wei residence and returning to the princess's mansion. He drifted into my boudoir, sat on the bed, buried his face in his hands, and wept. Ghosts shed no tears, but they know regret. He probably realized his mistakes, understood what he'd misunderstood about me all these years. But I didn't care. This belated repentance was like stale grain to me, poisonous. The days passed one by one. The Wei family shut themselves away completely. Madame Wei observed daily vegetarian fasts and chanted sutras, praying for Wei Ju's swift awakening. Wei Huan grew gaunt by the day, forsaking even her beloved vanities. Wei Ju's spirit remained confined within the princess's residence, never venturing out again. His constant presence began to grate on me, so I had talismans affixed throughout the entire palace. Once more, he was repelled, and I no longer cared where he went. Now the most troubled household in the capital was the Lu family. Lu Qingshuang had returned, though Lord Lu had banished her. Lady Lu threatened suicide, forcing Lord Lu to angrily allow her back, only to lock her in the Buddhist hall. Lord Lu planned to send Lu Qingshuang to a nunnery to shave her head and practice Buddhism, hoping to weather the storm. But Lu Qingshuang was terrified, unwilling to part with her long black hair. She wrote a letter in the dead of night and had her trusted maid smuggle it out of the mansion. The very next day, as the Lu residence gates opened, a suitor arrived to propose marriage. That man was none other than Lu Zhengluan, Wei Ju's close friend. Lu Zhengluan was a renowned scholar, celebrated throughout the land for his poetry. His father, the emperor, had summoned him to serve in the Hanlin Academy. Yet, in a drunken stupor, he spoke recklessly and was dismissed from the court with a golden gift. From then on, he grew cynical, immersing himself in nature and claiming disdain for fame and fortune. It was during this time he became close friends with Wei Ju. The two often roamed the capital with a group of idle youths, engaging in philosophical discussions about life. It was likely through these gatherings that he met Lu Qingshuang. But I never imagined he would actually go to Lu Qingshuang's home to propose marriage, truly forsaking both fame and fortune. Upon hearing this, I let out a cold laugh. This is the woman Wei Ju has held so dearly in his heart. Before he has even awakened, she has already sought to marry for her own protection. May Lu Jie still find it in her heart to forgive her younger sister when he finally wakes. Lu Xinluan's marriage proposal was a blessing in disguise. Magistrate Lu practically couldn't wait to offload this hot potato of a daughter. They agreed the wedding would be in 3 days. Upon receiving the news, my fingers tapped lightly on the table. What to do? I didn't particularly want Lu Qingshuang to become a proper, legitimate wife. A person like her belonged in the gutter. But to have me personally deal with a lowly commoner felt beneath my dignity. I finally understood Lu Qingshuang was like a fly. Dealing with her was disgusting. Ignoring her was disgusting. Just as I was at a loss, a flash of light erupted from the jade pendant. The jade shattered. Wei Ju's soul was no longer bound. I instantly lost all connection to his spirit. This ill-fated bond was finally, truly severed. I stared blankly at the broken jade for a moment before asking Ningxing, "Any good spots outside the city? There's a decent hot spring. Have you been? I've heard it's good." "Then let's go." Our large party left the palace. But unfortunately, the Lu family's residence lay directly on our path. The Lu family was holding both a small and grand wedding ceremony today. Though their marriage was rushed, they followed every traditional step. Utterly unlucky. Just then, a rider galloped toward us. Wei Ju sat astride his horse. His face as cold as iron. His bearing dashing and heroic. Were it not for the gauze bandage on his hand, he would still be a strikingly handsome young man. As he passed my carriage, he abruptly reined in his horse and demanded, "Ling Yue, where are you going?" Ningxing replied coldly, "Spying on the princess's movements? You deserve death." Wei Ju ignored him, speaking softly instead, "Wait for me. Once I've finished here, I'll come find you." He spurred his horse past me, arriving before the Lu residence. From his lofty position, he bellowed, "Lu Qingshuang is my concubine." "Lord Lu, dare you double-betrothed a single woman?" The words sent shockwaves through the crowd. I halted my carriage to watch the spectacle unfold. Lord Lu hurried out to speak with Wei Ju, but from my distance, I couldn't make out their words. Wei Ju then began pulling personal items belonging to Lu Qingshuang from his robe, one by one: a sachets, a handkerchief, a hairpin, earrings, and even a pair of silk stockings. He pulled out each item and tossed it onto the ground, displaying them before the crowd. This was a deliberate attempt to utterly destroy Lu Qingshuang's reputation. Lord Lu's face flushed crimson. Lu Xinluan's expression hardened like iron. No man preparing for marriage could tolerate his betrothed exchanging private gifts with another man, let alone the possibility of physical intimacy. Lu Xinluan swept his sleeves and stormed out. Lord Lu shot Wei Ju a vicious glare before entering the house. When he emerged again, he brought Lu Qingshuang with him and thrust her toward Wei Ju. "Wei Ju, my Lu family has long prioritized self-preservation over loyalty to you. This daughter is our compensation. Do with her as you will, life or death. From this day forward, she and I have no further ties to the Lu family." Lu Qingshuang stumbled to the ground. The tender gaze she once cast upon Wei Ju was gone, replaced by profound terror in her eyes. Wei Ju, in turn, looked at her with nothing but disgust. The childhood sweethearts had become a bitter couple. I couldn't bear to watch any longer and ordered my men to take a detour away. As we walked along the road, I asked Ningxing, "In the future, will we turn against each other?" Ningxing pondered for a moment before replying, "No. If I ever wrong you, you may kill me." His words struck my heart, instantly calming it. In this world, there are indeed some people and some bonds that never change. I was content. I drifted off into a drowsy sleep. I was startled awake by the sound of galloping hooves. Weiju leapt from his horse and knelt before my carriage, forcing it to halt. I lifted the curtain to see this once radiant youth, now shrouded in the dust of time, a patina that no amount of polishing could remove. His piercing black and white eyes fixed on me as he suddenly drew a sword from his robe and began a dance. His blade moved like a dragon, swift as a startled wild goose. His dance was moving, yet I felt that the once radiant figure from our youthful days had been sullied. I asked Ningxing, "Do you know how to dance with a sword?" "I only know how to kill." "Then kill." Ningxing leapt from the carriage. With a single strike, he sent Weiju crashing to the ground. The sword tip pierced his neck, just a fraction further and it would have ended his life. Crimson blood trickled down Weiju's snow-white neck. He stared at me stubbornly, his lips parting. "Ling Yue, I know I was wrong. Could you come back?" I smiled. Why should I return just because he realized his mistakes? I replied calmly, "Where exactly did you go wrong? I shouldn't have believed slander and wrongfully accused you. I shouldn't have failed to distinguish right from wrong and misunderstood you. I shouldn't have let family ties cloud my judgment and made me listen only to one side. I will change all that from now on." I shook my head. "Weiju, you still don't understand your mistake. Why did you save me back then? Why did you marry me? Was it truly because you believed I had saved the Wei family?" He hesitated, his lips twitching, but ultimately said nothing. I spoke calmly. "You did it for your own desires. When the Wei family fell, you were trampled by the masses. You knew well the benefits of power, which is why your mother could persuade you to seek connections through the princess's residence. After Lu Qingshuang broke off your engagement, your pride was wounded. You desperately needed a prestigious marriage to raise your status and make Lu Qingshuang regret her decision. I was your best option. These factors are why you agreed to marry me. You did it for yourself. Yet even now, you still cannot face your own desires. You deem them tainted, refusing to believe you are a man driven solely by self-interest. So you treat me coldly after marriage, even deceiving yourself into thinking I covet your beauty. You went so far as to frame the Wei family to win you over. Only through such self-deception can you find peace. And as for your sister's affair, dare you claim ignorance? You merely saw it as a boon, a chance to add luster to the Wei name, and welcomed it wholeheartedly. Selfish, profit-driven, nepotistic, biased, yet even now, you believe only they are at fault, that you bear no blame. That is what disappoints me most. Let me make this crystal clear: you, Weiju, are unworthy of me. I act with unwavering integrity and unwavering resolve, a world apart from you. I'll state this once more: your father and Prince Xin were never involved in anything improper. The initial investigation was thorough, examining every possible suspect. If you doubt my words, ask your father yourself. If you knew all this, why did you still marry me?" Weiju's face was as pale as snow. I replied calmly, "The reason you and I were destined to be wed lies entirely in the prophecy of the Supreme Taoist. He foretold you would be a calamity I must endure. Otherwise, with your station, you would never have caught my eye. There is one more thing I must tell you. You betrayed me, and I struck back in secret. When you fell from the cliff, it was I who sealed your soul within this jade pendant. I intended for you to witness with your own eyes the true nature of your mother, your sister, and Qingmei. Now that your spirit has escaped the jade pendant, it signifies our bond is severed. To force a connection would be courting death. I have spoken my final words. Fare you well." With that, I ascended into the carriage. Ningxing kicked Weiju off the road with a single blow. He leapt onto the carriage and sat upright at the front. Yet I sensed Inexplicably, that he seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. How strange! After a month of wandering the outskirts, I returned to the capital. During that time, high buns and facial tattoos had become all the rage. People adorned their dimples with crescent moons, flower petals, or coin patterns. I used rouge to paint cloud patterns on mine. Ningxing frowned at the sight and quietly turned away. A mischievous urge seized me. Look! I commanded. Ningxing reluctantly turned back, watching silently. Do you like it? Ningxing frowned. It's nice. Then I'll .2 on you too. Ningxing leapt up and fled into the trees. I was overcome with laughter, doubled over with mirth. Just as I reveled in this joy, Lady Wei knelt outside the princess's residence, pleading for an audience and begging me to bestow a ginseng root. It turned out that Wei Ju, having obtained Lu Qingshuang, now hated her with a vengeance. He hated her for her fickleness, her malicious intent, her selfishness, tormenting her relentlessly. Unable to endure, Lu Qingshuang begged for mercy. He made only one demand: let me break 3 of your fingers too, and our grudge will be settled. Lu Qingshuang refused. In the ensuing struggle, she wrenched the hairpin from her hair and plunged it into Wei Ju's heart. Now Wei Ju draws in less breath than he exhales, clinging to life by a thread. Not a single physician summoned dared to remove the pin from his heart. Finally, one arrived, declaring that if a 1,000-year-old ginseng root could sustain his life, it might be worth a try. A 1,000-year-old ginseng root was an exceedingly rare treasure, found only within the imperial palace. Thus, the request came to me. I coldly refused, yet secretly ordered a 1,000-year-old ginseng root to be delivered to the Longevity Hall in the eastern part of the city. I also had word passed on to Wei's mother through indirect channels. That very afternoon, Wei's mother spent 1,000 gold pieces to purchase that 1,000-year-old ginseng root, and that 1,000 gold pieces found its way into my pocket. I wasn't short of money, but the feeling of it landing in my purse was still incredibly satisfying. Though Wei Ju's character was poor, his crimes didn't warrant death. Yet I refused to give him a ginseng root to prolong his life for nothing. Even more, I refused to let him think I still harbored feelings for him. That would be an insult to me. So, making a profit from this situation suited us both perfectly. Wei Ju survived thanks to the 1,000-year-old ginseng, but his heart and lungs were irreparably damaged. He was left with a chronic illness, gasping for breath after the slightest movement. For the rest of his life, he was confined to a wheelchair. Lu Qingshuang, however, was dragged before the authorities. As a concubine and a slave, injuring her master was a capital offense. But Lady Lu, consumed by hatred, refused to let her die. Instead, she was condemned to a lifetime of hard labor, forced to repent daily. After the Zhou family incident, Wei Huan grew much more reserved and unassuming. She married into a modest family. On her wedding day, as the bridal sedan chair passed the princess's residence, she stepped down. Facing the gate, she bowed from afar, then departed. Word spread that she had truly repented, shedding her former willfulness to learn sincerity in dealing with others. I find this most commendable. To recognize one's errors and correct them is the greatest virtue. Wei's father voluntarily requested demotion, returning to his former position as a 4th-rank official. The emperor waved his hand and granted his request. He also increased my stipend and bestowed upon me a mansion and fiefdom. He declared, "I have but this one daughter, as rare as the moon in the heavens or snow upon mountain peaks, too lofty to grasp. I could not bear to hold her, yet she has endured this one calamity. That is enough. For the rest of her life, should anyone cause her sorrow, I shall make them suffer." Upon hearing these words, Lord Lu, Lu Qingshuang's father, was so terrified that he wrote a petition that very night, declaring his own limited learning and failing eyesight rendered him unfit to serve the state, and requesting permission to retire to his hometown. The emperor granted this request as well. The entire Liu family vanished completely from the capital. Half a year later, the emperor began selecting a husband for me. This matchmaking process was unprecedented in scale, rivaling the crown prince's selection of a consort. Portraits were sent to the capital of the most handsome, talented young men from all 36 provinces across the 9 provinces, those with impeccable family backgrounds and spotless reputations. I had no intention of marrying. I found the carefree, unrestrained life of my aunt, the eldest princess, quite appealing. Still, one cannot ignore an old father's wishes. So I went through the motions. As I examined the portraits, I couldn't tell if it was the artist's skill or the youth's genuine charisma that made them appear so dashing and noble. In any case, they were all splendid. I gazed at one after another, unable to look away, captivated by each. My aunt, the eldest princess, stood beside me, her eyes sparkling as she looked too. What a pity! What a pity! They're only for viewing, not for use. At a glance, none of them could be the young man to serve as my facekeeper. As I flipped through the pages, I came upon a familiar portrait. I lifted my gaze to look at Ningxing, then lowered my eyes back to the portrait. Ningxing remained impassive. Alas! Having grown up together since childhood, I could sense the ripples beneath his surface even when his expression gave nothing away. I handed Ningxing's portrait to the eldest princess. What do you think of this young gentleman? The princess accepted it with a smile, studying me intently before turning to Ningxing. He would serve you well indeed. Might I have him for my aunt? I remained silent, my gaze fixed on Ningxing. Ningxing also looked at me. His eyes were clear and bright, starkly defined, like a jet-black pearl dropped into pristine white snow. Only then did I realize he, too, possessed extraordinary beauty. He simply rarely looked up, so no one saw it. I smiled. That won't do. If I give him away, my wedding ceremony will be without a prince consort. The princess burst into laughter, thrusting the portrait into my hands. You should have claimed your pearl long ago. You've kept me worrying for 3 years for nothing. Now that the pearl is back in its box, I'll be waiting for your good news. The princess departed. Only Ningxing and I remained in the room. I stepped before him and asked, "When did this happen? When exactly did you fall for me?" He moved his lips. "When you asked if I had a lady in my heart." I remembered his reply then, "This subordinate has only swords in his heart." He lied. I believed him. If you ask me when I fell for him, I pondered long and hard. It was probably when he told me the story of the princess and her prince consort. In that tale, the prince consort devoted himself wholly to the princess. Though faced with countless perils, he forged ahead undaunted, overcoming every obstacle with the resolve of a lone warrior holding the pass against 1,000 foes. Back then, I thought such a prince consort could never be Wei Ju. When faced with trouble, Wei Ju would resort to cunning schemes, plotting, and taking advantage of chaos, but never charging headlong into danger. Back then, I thought, that's probably how Ningxing would act. He'd travel across vast distances, cross mountains and rivers, to rescue his princess. I smiled as I brushed my fingers against his lips. Then let's marry. My anxious heart instantly calmed. Seated in his wheelchair, he was thin as a sheet of paper. He bowed his hands to me from afar. I glanced at him through the beaded curtain, then turned my gaze to Ningxing. Ningxing looked back at me, his bearing gallant and his spirit lofty. My heart was filled with peace, truly understanding what the supreme Taoist meant by "sky is vast and the sea is wide, one's path is guided by the heart." The past 3 years felt like a great dream. Had I not endured those trials, Perhaps I would have followed the path of a long princess, admiring countless peerless beauties. Sinking into pleasure. Waking to confusion. Pursuing endlessly yet never finding true anchor. Only through this ordeal did I understand, though beauty may captivate, it remains external. Where the heart finds its home is where true belonging lies. I smiled radiantly at Ningxing and returned home with him. This time, I am resolved, we shall walk hand in hand for 100 years. Bound by love for a lifetime. All the gods and Buddhas bear witness. The end.